second. Let's go on YouTube before we do this. This is cool. You tell me.
Are we on?
I know that you.
We're about to be done redirecting to
You
YouTube.
buy motorcycles.
Let's go on YouTube before we do this. This is okay. Yeah, it says we're on. So good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening. Beautiful thing about recording things is even with our busy lives, you can watch these whenever you want to. This is Lester. Got my Ovenova co-founder John Carey on here. He's at the Regen Village today getting some stuff done. And then with us today are Houston and Ange, our good friends that we're gonna help go solar with a sense of urgency. Houston and I connected a couple of days ago, and we just decided to play this game. We're like, why don't we create a YouTube series to see how fast, if somebody really wanted to go solar, they could. And then why don't we just show everybody what all the variables are? But today we're going to make some choices on Houston and Ange's system. But before that, in case y'all missed that long conversation we had, Houston, why don't you tell everybody what you were about to tell John before I said, let's get on YouTube and do that.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny because John just left because I know his connection's been spotty. So maybe he'll never know what I actually do. But I buy and sell motorcycles. So yesterday we just went and picked one up from Blum, Texas, which is literally in the middle of nowhere.
So do y'all have like... Did y'all ride a motorcycle and pick up a motorcycle and both of y'all like rode one back, or how'd that work?
No, we usually take the truck. So we'll take the truck out there. I've got a ramp. We'll get there, look at it, take it on a little test drive, and then load it up in the truck and drive ourselves home. But we always try to stop at like a mom and pop restaurant, which we're in the middle of nowhere yesterday, and we found this cafe that had over 1,000 reviews. And Lester, I don't think there's 1,000 people in this town. So we were kind of confused. So we went in there and got dinner together. But I got to tell you, the food was absolutely delicious.
So it earned those reviews. It wasn't like some random people in a random country posting reviews for.
Yeah, they definitely earned all 1,000 of those reviews. It was fantastic.
What did you eat?
I got smothered chicken.
I got like a cheesesteak on jalapeno bread.
Boy, I bet y'all were feeling that last night when you made it home.
It was not spicy. It was sweet, which like was different for me. I was not ready for it.
I loved it though.
Man,
that's fantastic.
Well, thank you for hashtag supporting local businesses, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, that's cool. Like, have you ever run into like mom and what? Got any good stories or any weird things from mom and pop restaurants or off the beaten path restaurants you've seen?
I don't, off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but we, when we were living in Virginia, we were like driving, we had to take a ferry across a river, right? And so like we're driving through these back roads after we had taken this ferry, and there's this little farmer's market out in the middle of nowhere. And so we stopped, and they had like some jellies, jams, and all kinds of that stuff. But they had fresh baked pies. And so we bought a pie and brought it home, and it was fantastic. Absolutely incredible. I think I ate like almost all of the pie minus like the 2 slices she ate in a day and a half. But it started this new thing where we always try to keep a fresh baked pie in the house. It's just something small, but it always makes my day a little better. You can walk out and get a piece of fresh pie. And so yeah, that's one of the nifty stories that comes from driving down so many back roads.
That's as American as apple pie. I love that story. So do you ever like heat it up just so you can smell it in the house?
Yes, I do heat it up sometimes.
That's cool. Well, guys, is there anything you want to talk about this morning, or you want to jump into this solar exploration journey that you get to go down?
Let's jump into it. We'll see where it leads us.
We'll share some screens. That's some updated Slack. That's some panel information. This is looking some stuff up. We'll find together. That's in case we have any questions about anything works. I've got all kinds of tabs here to show to you. So good morning. There's some NBA stuff and some Drudge Report and all kinds of things I was reading this morning to catch up on the world. So you need to make electricity. We're clear on that, right?
Yeah.
And what kind of things do you like using electricity for?
literally almost everything.
Everything in our house.
Yeah, I was gonna
electric.
say, do we have gas? I don't
No,
think
we
we
don't
have gas.
at all.
So everything's electric.
Wow, everything is electric.
Everything.
So let me show you two options I created and then all the customizable parts. If you want to, since it's a weekend, there's nothing that can be done today anyway. So if you want to, you can make your choice today if you just know what makes the most sense to you. Or we can get back together tomorrow after you have a night to think about it and figure out what you would like to do. But what I did was I looked at, what you told me that you need to make about $130 worth of electricity a month. Then I found a couple of different ways to go about doing that for you. So if you ever wonder where the numbers come from, this is in your situation, because you didn't have Google Maps. With most people, we can look at Google Maps and we see the sun's path and we see the shading, but y'all are in a new neighborhood. Congratulations on your new home. How are y'all liking it so far there?
We love it. I mean, the only downfall, the only like not perfect part is that we're so far away from family, but everything else, like the neighbors, the friends we've met, our location, we're in a small town outside of Austin, but we can be in Austin in like 45 minutes, which kind of gives us the best of both worlds, but we love it out here.
Man, it's so good to have you. But the way we did it, since y'all don't have a Google Maps yet, is that yesterday, Houston sent us some pictures of his beautiful home. And normally, Houston, the roof place that you would want to use is the southward facing roof. Do you notice that you get the most light coming in this window right here in your house?
That's my office.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, so you didn't know that the most sunlight was why do you think that is? It's true. Why do you think you get the most light here, or the most light on the south side of your house?
For the sunrise.
The sunrise is in the east, it sets in the west. So I'm thinking if
I
it,
don't know, I feel like that's where I see it first.
I don't know. That doesn't, like, to me, that doesn't make sense, because if it rises in the east and sets in the west, is it because of the rotation of us around the sun?
Well, have you ever taken a trip to like Puerto Rico or Mexico or Cancun or any place like that before?
I actually
Yes,
haven't.
I have.
You have, Ange. And how sunny is it down there?
Very, very sunny.
So, and you guys know that the equator is pretty much sunny all the time, right?
Yes.
Oh, it's because it faces towards the equator.
Right. So, because that's where the sun hangs out. So most of the year, you're going to be in a situation where the sun's facing from the south. So in Australia, it's the south side that you want to use. But in America, in Northern Hemisphere, it's the south side. But you guys have this multi-tiered thing, and really the only place to put some panels would be here. So for the ease of installation and just the cleanliness of it, it's not that much of a difference between the south and the east and the west. And this is a place that you can grow into and still have your premium space available. So just when we came up with these numbers, what we looked at was the west side. So you said that the west side of your house faces 260 degrees west.
Yes.
And this is a beautiful roof. I mean, we can build right over all these obstructions. This is just a gas vent. It doesn't make any difference if it's 4 inches tall or 1 inch tall. So we'll cut this down and there'll be a solar panel over it to keep water from getting in it. It won't hurt anything. And there's plenty of space. We had an engineer look at this yesterday and figure out how many panels we could put up there. And what he came up with, and the east and west sides are the same. So there's a lot of sun over here. It won't be much in the morning, but you'll get a lot in that Texas afternoon sunshine, right? It'll just be baking it. And to remind you, well, I'll remind you in a second. So that's the first part. So 260 degrees. If you go and you look at, let's just put this, we got your location here. So that's where they live, but not the exact location, because we don't want you to go stalking Houston and Ange since they're cool.
You couldn't if you tried. Our address is like nowhere.
It really is nowhere. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, wait, that's also not the right zip code.
Well, then let's do the right zip code then, because that's what my team put in yesterday. What is
Yeah,
the range?
sweet.
76537.
76537. It'll make a little bit of a difference. Not a ton, but it'll make a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
it might be too much.
There we
Oh,
go.
look, there it is.
so
A
what
little
this,
tiny town.
so what this thing decided to do, it just looked at all the weather for like the last 15 years to figure out how many cloudy days there are, how many sunny days. And it's going to vary a little bit, but it's going to tell you exactly how much your system will produce. So if we were just looking at, there's two very distinct ways to go solar. And this is why I suggested maybe you want to take a day to think about it. One is without batteries, and your electricity will not work in an ice storm if you don't have batteries. And then you can do it. But the upside is that you live in a place where you have a very, very good option. Chariot Energy, you already work with, right? That's your current utility provider.
Yeah.
They have an option where you can pay, where they give you a credit for everything that you overproduce, and they'll give it back to you, but you have to pay the distribution charges. So
Yeah.
luckily you live in Texas, and Texans love having options, right? And in Texas, you can switch to this organization called Green Mountain Energy, and they'll give you a full 1-to-1. So the other night, when you came to your solar education to Houston,
Yeah.
you might have seen this flag. This is our friend in Texas. You know, this is in November. He owed $15. I'm sorry, the utility company owed him $15 because he bought $93 worth of electricity at night, but during the day he made everything he needed and sold $107 worth of electricity back.
Gotcha. That's good.
Yeah, and they didn't send him a check. They just rolled it over. And then he's going to use those credits later on in the year whenever he's not making enough to meet all of his personal energy needs. Does that make sense? Kind of like rollover minutes?
Yeah.
And does that make sense to you too? How you don't have to worry about your lights flickering if you go solar or anything like that because you're still connected to the utility grid?
Yes.
Cool. So getting back to your options, we're just having a low Saturday morning. Please ask me any questions. I'm rambling on purpose. I'm just trying to make this as lazy and as loose as possible. So let me know if you have any questions. I just want to show you where your numbers come from. And so 30 panels that make this many watts per hours of direct sunlight, we're about to figure out how much electricity it would make for sure. Watch this number change just slightly because of the slight thing. So first thing you want to know is number of kilowatts, 10.95. And you don't have any shading, so it's perfectly valid to use this tool. And we'll say standard just to under promise and over deliver, but this particular equipment is premium equipment and not standard equipment.
Gotcha. That's cool. I like premium stuff.
Oh, but the service is down. Whatever.
We can just go off of the.
Yeah, it's irrelevant anyway. It's just, there we go. So this is the premium stuff. So using premium panels, this is about how much electricity you'd be creating per year using 30 of them, which we know from our engineer, because we looked into it yesterday. We got ahead because we want to play this. How fast can we do it too? And we know this many will fit on your roof. So there we go. About 2,000 more per year. So at 9 cents per watt, almost 10 cents per watt, that works out to equals 1841 divided by 12 months a year, about $150 worth of electricity per month. And that might be a little bit more than you need, but if you have a little bit more than you need, do you think you could figure out what to do with it? Like, would you turn the air conditioner down this summer? Would you buy an electric car? Like, if you had more electricity than you needed, what do you think you would do with it?
Probably end up with an electric car, to be honest with you.
No, see, I think right now, like, we don't turn the air down too much, but I think when it's gonna be 120 outside, we need to kind of think about that too, because we're definitely gonna end up lowering our air.
Okay.
You don't think so?
And it gets hotter too. I mean, you might see, it's not uncommon for electricity bills to increase by 50% in the summertime. You know, so if you're spending 130, you might be tipping, close to 200, 185, $200 a month in the summertime. So the good news is you're connected to your electricity company. So even if your panels don't produce enough, and the only reason we can't size this super accurately is because y'all haven't been in your house for a year, right? If you'd been there for a year, we would know, but you don't know till you know. So, and then you can always add more panels later on. But this is, let's look at this like just an option for you. You can do it this way. So this is what we would earn if you chose to continue to move forward with us. And Houston, that would allow us to give 30 people a solar education, whether they show up and we pay them $50 or we give $50 to an organization, and then to have the team that can do it well. So just know that going solar with us means that more people are going to learn about solar in a pretty cool way. And thank you for making that possible. All the stuff that it takes to do the engineering, the drawing, to make it super easy for y'all, because you're a busy man and lady. This is all the stuff that it takes to to do all the paperwork, order the panels, ship the panels, coordinate all that, find the installer that we want to use. All the work that goes behind it is what this is for. This is to allow more people to hear about solar. This is to actually get the job done. And this is completely up to you, man. Have you ever heard that you can have something done well, you can have it done fast, or you can have it done inexpensively, but you can only have two of those three?
Yeah. And I don't like the cheap option because we've watched enough HGTV to realize all the problems that the cheap option brings.
So I know that for this price, which is more than we usually price, there's some veterans down there that that have said that they will work for this price. And it'd be kind of cool to support Army vets as well. And if they're not available, that will allow us to hire anyone. And if we end up not spending that, like, we will give it back. But I would anticipate, because we're going for speed here, it will. But just know, if you want to slow it down just a little bit and you want to use a normal electrician, you could save about $1,700, but that's your option. And that's one of those things to think about. But if you've watched enough HGTV to know, then we can do this fast and well for that amount. So does that look cool to you in terms of contractors and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so far.
All right. Any questions?
Mm-mm.
All right. So your panels, and you have options on your panels. These panels that I have on your house, because you're in Texas, I know that you like nice things, and because bragging rights are nice, and because it's nice to have panels that are like really good in the heat, and because we talked about it already the other night when we started talking, these are premium panels. They're, other than like the space station, these are the best solar panels that you could buy. So if people ask, what kind of panels do you have? It's like saying I have a Maserati, or whatever, an equivalent of that. What's a really nice car that's just like right in your mind, since you're a car buyer and seller?
How about my Lamborghini?
Yeah, this is like a Lambo of solar panels when it comes to residential solar. Now, to show you the price difference, for a standard panel, which is still freaking awesome, and if you're coin operating, you're only looking at what makes more sense, then there's another panel that will be in about 3 weeks, that we know is 44 cents a watt, and it will produce about the same amount of electricity. The difference is at the end of 25 years, it's only guaranteed to be making 80% of the energy, that only 80%. How awesome would it be if you're still working 80% as well as you are today in 25 years, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's a long time for something to be working. So I say only 80, but with the premium, it'll still be making 92% of the energy. It will be, and so if you're already thinking about electric cars and things like that, the reason that I suggested a premium thing is because I know that you're going to be maxing out your roof space for future energy usage, most likely as your family grows and different things come along. But this is one option to decide, do you want premium stuff or normal stuff? The difference is about $2,500. Do you have anything to say about that before we move further?
Let me ask this: if we like, Are you able to intertwine the two? Like, and not saying like right now, but like, let's say we went with the premium ones and then later on we wanted to just add a couple regular ones.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not a problem at all.
I was gonna say, do they work in tandem together?
Yeah, they're just, it's a little bit, if I got really deep into this and started talking about MPPTs and open circuit voltage and all that stuff, it would get confusing. But so the answer is yes, and it's not simple, but it's not complicated either, right? Like it could be simple, but the short answer is absolutely you can do that. You could even have a completely different inverter. There's a million different ways that you could make that happen. So what else?
Gotcha. I think that's it for the panels.
Okay. And you know that the panels make DC, right?
Yeah, direct current.
Uh-huh. And so you've got to be able to convert these to alternating current. So this is your non-battery option that we are going through right now. If you don't have a battery, you would use these things called micro inverters. And your Green Mountain Energy would be your battery. You make more than you need during the day. You send it to them. They save it for you. They don't really save it. They sell it to your neighbors. Energy can't be saved without a battery. But it doesn't make any difference to you. You're not using it. You get a credit for it from them. And then you use that credit at night or during the winter. But if the power goes down, you won't have power because there's a signal that comes in from the grid that tells your panels to shut down so that you're not putting power back out on those lines when somebody's trying to work on them. But in terms of like pricing and saving money, if you're just looking for like the least expensive way to go solar, then you would have, okay, let's wait a little bit on those installers. I know they'll do a good job. Let's get some, like, we'll wait a few weeks. They're still pretty. These standard panels, I'll show you. They're actually very pretty looking things. They're not. This is the premium panel that I'm showing you. And see how it's all black?
Yeah.
It's like space age stuff. The normal one is also all black, like the normal panel is, and it looks basically, it's beautiful. It's a, but it's coming out in June. So
In your office.
I think I'm confusing y'all more than anything else by showing you. I'm just trying to make sure that we don't.
No, you're good. I like knowing what they look like because it's better than to be surprised when you put them up on the roof.
Yeah, I mean, they're just freaking nice. The standard stuff that we have, you know, there's like a silver lining. I thought, you know, Houston might actually like this. I don't know. But this one panel we have is really nice. It's got this one little silver lining. I thought with your mechanical stuff, you might like something like that. But do you have any preferences for?
I personally like the all black ones.
Okay. And so
Yeah, we wanted our roof to be black like our neighbors.
I know this will give you a little bit of that.
So what did Ann say? Y'all are barely picking up.
They started, like, since our house was one of the first ones on the street, really, they started doing all these other ones, and their roofs are like black roofs. They really stand out. And ours looks really dull and gray now. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, why did they do that? Like, now our house, like, I feel like we need to change our roof and it be black. So adding black solar panels might help us.
That's great. Yeah, they'll all be jealous. Like, man, I wish I had that kind of black on my house. Their black doesn't make electricity.
Yeah, right.
So those are the inverters that you would use if you're just looking, how do I save money? And then you have racking. This is what sticks it to your house.
Yeah.
And then you get shipping because the stuff is heavy. And you got combiner box and cabling for the wires. And then you've got a slush fund built in here that in case something goes wacky, we could use it.
Gotcha.
But all of this, Houston, one of the cool things about our service is that you actually pay wholesale. You pay us to teach more people how to do it. You pay us to do your job. You pay the guys to climb on your roof. But for the equipment, we don't mark it up a penny. You pay exactly what we pay. And because we can work directly with distributors, we get way better prices than you could get on the same equipment. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And we show you a receipt at the end for all these things. And then we write you a rebate check for the difference. So this is not your real price. This is just your, hey, the price of panels before we order them might go up a penny. They went up last week because of this material shortage. Your inverters might go up a little bit. If they do, no problem. You know, we'll get this done. So this is one way to do it. But guys, if I were going to do it this way, I would probably hire cheap labor. Or when I say cheap, this isn't cheap. This is actually a lot more than most people pay their labor. You don't have to worry about us not doing a great job. It's just a matter of getting it done fast if we're trying to break this record, and making sure we have enough in a budget to hire great people is why I put that number in there.
Gotcha.
And then I would probably get inexpensive panels. So if I were just doing it like that, that's probably how I would go about doing it. I'd wait, I'd get some pretty black, the other pretty black panels. And I get standard stuff, and I'd just be looking to save as much money as possible, because you would know that you could produce like $153 a month worth of electricity with this. And if you paid zero down using somebody else's money, you're paying $120 after your tax credit for your electricity. But we'll get into this in a second. So if you're just looking to save money, basically you can save $30 a month minimum, because this is before your rebate and all that stuff, in order to
Gotcha.
make.
So let me ask this: would that tax credit go directly towards the loan?
No, that's a good thing. So check this out. So I need to find out if there's if there's sales tax in Texas on solar. Can we look that up real quick?
I will.
Is solar sales tax exempt? I just forget these things. Sales tax assessment we provide for sales tax exemptions. Well, which are those 25 states? I've got oh, Holly told me, hang on a second. You guys get to see my Facebook. Hope I don't have anything racy in here. Yeah, so yeah, solar is sales tax exempt in Texas. So congratulations, Lone Star State. If you choose to be a producer of electricity.
That sounds like a very Texas thing, though. I would assume that they were.
Yeah, it is kind of a Texas thing. So your payment for your panels would be $163.43, and then you get a $7,000 tax credit if you went with this system. And that's $7,000 that you're going to send to the government next year, that you do not send them if you're 1099. And if you're a W-2 and the government owed you $10,000 because you overpaid by $10,000, now they owe you $16,925.49. So it's real money. It's not like writing off an expense. It's your final tax bill and a direct reduction, or, or bigger rebate for that. So you can use that to buy a bike with, Houston. What I would probably do, since you're coin operated, is I would just keep paying this like $10 a month more for my solar, knowing that actually it's $30 a month less because of the $7,000. And then I'd probably invest that. Or if I were you, the best investment you can make is in your own business. So I'd probably go buy a motorcycle with it or something and get a 30% return, or whatever the heck you earn wherever you do your magic with these bikes and cars. And but it's your money, it's your choice, right? But you don't have to spend it on freaking electricity. Like, just keep in mind, money is coming to you because you're making your own electricity, and you're no longer paying this electricity bill. So clear on all that?
Yep, that makes sense.
And I would just do it. We can see how fast we could do it.
I like the way that you have it set up now, and for the sake of this, like, this is what the average person would go through, right? So like,
yeah, this is what a normal person whose main objective was, I want to save as much money as I can day one without spending a dime of my own money. this is the option they would choose, because
Yeah.
they would realize I will no longer have to pay $153 for my electricity. So I'm going to take that money and I'm going to borrow somebody else's money, zero down, no early repayment penalty. So if I want to pay it off, I can. It's 4.5% interest, assuming y'all have good credit, and I'm sure you do. Then it's $120.94 is what you would be paying after you applied the tax credit to the loan, but you don't have to apply the tax credit to the loan. You can invest it somewhere where you're making a higher percentage. You can do whatever you want to with it. It's your money. So
Yeah.
this is what the standard person would choose. These are still nice, 365 watt. They're not the premium Norway panels or any of that, but that's mainly just marketing. It's about what will your solar panels actually do. And the only real difference is these work a little bit better in the heat, which could matter. The premium panels do, but not enough to make it worth an extra $1,700. Well, there's ways to figure that out. And it's just a number counting game. But if I lived where you lived, what I would do was I would, like, most people would do this because you have such a good agreement with Green Mountain Energy where they'll work as your battery for you.
Gotcha.
Like if in Tennessee, that does not exist. When you make more energy than you need during the day and you give it to your neighbors, do you know what the utility companies say?
No.
Thanks.
Oh, wow. What does a battery option look like?
You mean as far as,
does it really change the dynamic of everything?
It does, just because the way I would set it up. So can I show that to you?
Yeah, of course.
So first of all, there's two advantages you have when you have a battery. One is that you are now storing your energy at home, which is kind of cool, right? Like it's just security. So, it's just because it's a cool thing, it's a valuable thing. People like batteries. But the second thing is that if another ice storm comes, you will still have electricity. And what are the odds of another ice storm coming? Pretty freaking low, right?
Yeah.
But a tornado or a big storm, I don't know. How reliable is the electricity? I guess you just moved in. You don't have any idea. The first week you moved in was the ice storm.
Yeah, so in our eyes, pretty unreliable.
Right. So you might have
a lot of other people.
That's true.
What'd you say, Ange?
We were better than a lot of other, like the surrounding people over here. Like a lot of people lost power for like days on end and we didn't. Our max was like, one day of like 8 hours.
Yeah, I think that
was it. Everyone else lost it for like 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
So we did really well.
Yeah, like, and y'all got to snuggle for 8 hours to stay warm. Like good.
Yeah. And it was overnight, so it wasn't really too bad. It's not like it was during the day.
Oh, that's cool. Like, I'm glad that you made it through it. So
Yes.
I'm going to talk to you about batteries and then we can go from there, but it'd actually be like 30, well, we can fit 34 panels. Yeah, 34. So this might be 34 or 33. I wish John were on here because I just forgot using a different type of panels. I'm going to use different numbers to figure something out for myself real quick. So just hang on. All right. Yes, that's right. So using premium panels, maximizing your situation. So let me go back again. So what I'm looking at is that with your battery, the biggest thing that changes with your battery is that you no longer use micro inverters.
Okay.
You use a completely different type of inverter. And this is actually a company in Texas that's led by veterans. There's veterans all over in solar because they used it when they were deployed. But have you heard of like a Tesla Powerwall?
Yeah, I've heard of those.
Or maybe a Generac battery system?
I've heard of Generac, the Panasonics, and then the Tesla.
Okay. Well, there's no bad battery option, but there is an intelligently engineered battery option. And that's what we created for the people that we work with. And each of these solar inverters, instead of having an inverter on the back of each panel, which is what a micro inverter is, all of them just feed into one inverter, which is what a solar is. Have you ever heard of like doomsday preppers before?
Yeah.
They use solarcs. So like, I mean, I don't know if I need to say much else, but the spec sheet is on here. Some of the biggest, coolest things about this is that you're only losing 7% efficiency in the conversion to your battery because it's a DC transformerless technology. So the DC from the panels go through the inverter and directly to the battery without having to be DC, AC, back to DC, back to AC, which is why you see these huge losses in these other systems. They're having to be like double and triple inverted just because of the way electricity works. Another cool thing about your solar, if the lights do go down, 4 milliseconds later, you will know.
That's interesting.
That's a quarter of a time it takes for I said you will know, and I misspoke. 4 milliseconds later, your lights will be back on because your battery will kick in. It takes a hummingbird 4 times longer to flap their wings once. So if the power goes down, you probably won't even notice it, is what I'm saying.
That's insane. That's so quick though. It's amazing how fast computers think.
Yeah, it's so fast. Like, it's amazing. And so, but each of these can only hold a certain amount of solar. So if you're going to have a battery, we just like to say, go ahead and max it out, right? Like, if you're going to use the entire inverter, if you're going to do it, if you're going to get a battery system, look at it as I am making a massive upgrade to my house. This is like putting in a new kitchen, a deck, a swimming pool, but I still get to finance most of it with my former electricity bill. So with this thing, this particular option, this thing will make even more electricity every month. This will be, and I think y'all are going to need it, guys. Like, I know there's an amount of electricity you think you need, but that you haven't been, Houston, you've been through a Texas summer. Don't you remember how hot they are?
They are burning hot.
Right. And and you use all electricity, everything. So even during the winter, you're going to need more electricity because the most expensive thing to do with electricity is to heat it. The good news, you have a brand new house, so you have good insulation, good doors, good windows, and all that stuff. So we don't know exactly, but like you said, you can always get an electric car. And in this case, $170 worth of electricity a month because we added 10 extra panels to the system. And let me keep going through here. So this, but we're not going to add 10 extra because the solar can only hold up to 13 kilowatts. That's why it's 12.8 here.
Yeah.
So using the 365 watt panels that we were talking about, then you would only be able to have 30, maybe 35. 35. Does that make sense? Because they make a little bit more electricity than 320 watts do.
Yeah.
Okay. So what changes? We are in the same thing. We don't care if you get a battery or not. We want you to have what you want. But it does cost a little bit more to do the engineering. So there's $500 more on the project management side. Electrical and building contractors not only get paid to install your solar, they get $2,000 more to hook your batteries up legally and safely. So it's a really good deal for them. If you ever heard about those good green jobs before, this is the kind of good, that's a good green job. And the imperfect information fund, it's in there again, but this is probably going to be money that's coming back to you, Houston. That's not, you get a rebate. And then your panels, these are the expensive ones. We can turn the other ones back on, no problem at all. Make about the same amount of electricity. We found out yesterday that Jarrell, Texas, this is just some fireman safety device that is absolutely unnecessary. It makes your, and when I say absolutely unnecessary to any fireman out there, it's not about your safety. This is about some lobbying effort that caused these things to be used. And luckily, Jarrell, you ain't got to use them. So you save $700 just because of where you live. Congratulations, Jarrell, for not Way to not update your national electric code. So this is your solar inverter, the racking and wiring. And this is why I said earlier that we created the best battery option available. You can go look up battery prices and you know that they're really expensive. In fact, the retail price on these is $18,000. But because of the way we've set up our service where you pay what we pay, then the dealer, we only pay $88.70. And this is for a 20 kilowatt storage and a really cool box. It's like really pretty. You keep your batteries inside in some cool place. People are like, what's that? Looks kind of like space age, you know, if you wanted to do it. And you would never, you'd have more than enough to make sure that you were good to go. And then shipping, batteries are heavy, so there's a little bit more in shipping.
Yeah.
And that's still there. That actually, this doesn't even need to be there with the battery system because and that's it.
Gotcha. So what, let's say we use let's go back like we were doing this like an average, like the average
Electric bill.
yeah, or not the average electric bill, but like the average install would. So like if we used like the 52 cents labor and the 44-cent panels,
Yeah.
like what does that work out to be then?
Let's check it out. That's $50 labor. You want to pay somebody?
I got expensive. Go ahead.
And then 44-cent panels. So that updated. Okay. Then it's $43,000.35. It's which works out to, check this out, man. You're making like $170 worth of electricity a month and you have batteries. If you paid cash,
Yeah.
let's take all the financing out of it for a second. And if you paid cash over the 25-year warranty of the system, you would effectively be paying after you would get a bigger tax credit
With the battery?
Yeah, because the batteries qualify for the tax credit as well. And so you get $11,000 back instead of $7,000 back, like we talked about. And after you apply the credit, you're looking at paying $100 a month for $170 worth of electricity and battery if you paid cash for it. But most people don't, because why use your money when you can use somebody else's money?
Yeah.
But you pay them to use that money. And that's why it's like $200 a month. So essentially you'd be paying about $20 or $30 a month more for more capable setup and a battery. And if we looked at, you know, what we did here, we had 35, just keep it apples to apples. Because this was like your minimum thing that we were looking at, right? So $30,209 or $43,000 is the difference between a battery system and a not battery system. It's a difference between, you know, paying $137 a month. This would create, we just upped your electricity making ability here when we did this 35 panels. So now it's like $170 a month of electricity. So it's paying $137 a month. No money down. I'm sorry, let me go back here. So you say, in this example, you save $30 a month without a battery.
Yeah.
In this example, you'd be paying $25 extra a month because you have a battery. And by extra, I'm actually talking about because you're paying for interest. And this doesn't include, what do you think it does to the value of your home to have a home that somebody can move into and never have to worry about the lights going out?
That's what, I don't know, that's kind of like one of those questions is like, how much value does a battery bring? And here's the other question is like, let's say we go without a battery now. Are we able to go back to the well and be like, okay, well, now we're ready to add on a battery?
If you want to do it that way, then absolutely the way to do it is to still use a solar, because it allows those batteries to be almost plug and play. Like a simple electrician could come out and hook your batteries up down the road. It's storage ready. But if you went if you went with the normal option without a battery and micro inverters, what you would be caught in the corner of is then you would have to use an AC coupled system, and the batteries are going to be $10,000-$15,000 more expensive down the road, and they're not going to work, and they're not going to work as well. But where you live, other than those weird times, you don't really need a battery, you know?
Yeah.
Like and that's why I said you might want to take a night to think about it. Like how much,
Yeah,
like
we
how,
definitely are gonna, this will be something that we deliver our answer tomorrow.
yeah. And there's just know that there's no wrong answer. You happen to live in a place where you have an option to have a utility provider that will work as your battery for you, and they are happy to do it. And you can see a real example. This is the same energy company that we're talking about. This is actually a Green Mountain bill. This is what your bill would look like, where you see, oh, we bought this much at night, but we made way more than we needed during the day. Now they owe us.
Yeah, and that just goes on there as a credit.
It just goes on.
Let me ask you this, like, let's say that we are really conscious and don't use all of our credit, like by the end of the year, like come next spring. Is there like a cash out button? Like if they still owe us like maybe $100 or something, come next spring, and we know we're gonna bank way more credits through the summer. Do they ever pay out? Or does it just keep like a rolling credit?
I had my team look this up yesterday. I don't know if they put it in the spreadsheet. Let's see if they did. If they didn't, I will figure that out and ask you tomorrow. I can tell you how it works. And I don't want to answer this question right now without knowing it for sure, Houston.
Yeah.
Because it's a good question. The way it works in most places is that if you leave in the middle of the year and you have a credit, then they'll actually write you a check.
Gotcha.
The way it works with a FPL down in Florida is you have 1 year to use your credits, and then at the end of the year, you will get a check for the wholesale amount of your credits.
Gotcha.
The way it works with Duke in North Carolina is if you make more, you can use up to 100% for the entire year. Right? You have a whole year to use them, but if you produce over 100%, they don't pay you. They don't pay you anything for it.
They just take your power and leave.
Yeah, there's a utility company in Michigan that we just worked with yesterday for the first time, and they have a never-ending credit. And then if you ever leave, you get your credits back, but it just rolls over and rolls over and rolls over and rolls over and rolls over, and there is no year.
Gotcha. Okay, that kind of makes sense.
And so different places just do it in different ways. And I don't know if this was Green Mountain Energy. Yeah, 12 month. You have a 12-month true up period. So you pay demand standby charge $9.95, 13.4 cents a watt. Payment. Whoa, that's wild. It's hard for me to believe that's real, but either my team made a mistake or it's real. I think you might get paid retail at the end of the year for whatever you overproduce.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, like I have a hard time believing that's true. But I'll check that out today and make sure. But it looks, if this is correct, then yeah, you get a check at the end of the year for whatever you overproduce.
Cool. Well, that's good. You're still going to be on me to turn off the lights.
Yeah, like it's always smart to be energy conscious. But if you're going to go, so here's your options, man. You got like hey, let's get started with what we know we need. And then next year we can come back and add on, and it won't be a big deal. And we're using like our normal equipment here, like the black stuff, slowing down, saying, yeah, it's fun to play a game called Solar Urgency, but let's do what's intelligent, right? We don't need to rush, to get something done. We don't want to pay an extra $1,000 to make sure we get a veteran installer that can do it right away. We can get it done for this. It'll be done well. Then if you're looking for something like that, I just fill up that westward face to start with. And that's 30 panels. We found out yesterday we could fit 30 panels on there. That is what I would use if I were recommending it to a friend. Like, let's do it this way. Like, this is the most money you could save. You're making, $153 worth of electricity. and you're using somebody else's money, and if you apply the tax credit, it's $120. To let you know, just, I don't know how much a battery would be worth to somebody, but I know that solar, if you just look at what's going on here, you're going to be, if the price of electricity never goes up and you don't go solar, you or whoever lives in that house, if they kept using the same amount of electricity, they're going to be spending almost $46,000 on electricity over their lifetime.
Yep.
Your house can make that same amount of electricity for 20 grand. So the difference in the value in the house is the difference between how much electricity they don't have, is the amount of electricity they don't have to buy from the utility company. So there's baked in like $25,000 worth of real, like, no assumptions about energy prices increasing value of the energy. Of course, if energy prices increase, then this number goes up for what you would be paying for somebody else. Your solar stays flat because it's a loan for equipment. There's all kinds of good things about that. But this is like, okay, cool, 120 bucks a month. That's better than $150 a month. And let's do it as quick as we can. But we can wait 3 or 4 weeks for those panels to come in, and let's get it done, you know, the way that it is. And it might still be able to be done by your birthday because we're working on getting it done faster. That is a great option. This is panels on, beautiful black panels on the western face of your roof, where you're paying less per month using somebody else's money to make your electricity bill with, or you're paying $10 more a month and taking $7,000 and invest that you otherwise are going to pay to the government, and then, you know, investing it somewhere or putting it towards the loan. But I always like to use the actual payment, because what you do with your tax credit is yours, but you could apply it to the loan. And if you did, you'd be saving $30 a month. Any questions about that?
No, that makes complete sense, but I'll just be frank with you, because we've had this discussion about that tax credit.
Yeah.
There's not a shot that it goes directly towards that loan. I think it'll go other places that are better well suited. Money, Lester, money is so cheap right now that, like, when we tell people the interest rate on our house, they like look at us like we came up, like we've got two heads or something.
Yeah, check this out, man. This is why so many people are going solar now too, because if you look at like a 30-year mortgage, what was your mortgage rate? Like 2%, 2.5%?
It was 2.25.
Jeez. And how old are you?
I'm 27.
Right. So 2.25%. And if your solar were financed at the same rate as your mortgage,
yeah, we'd only pay an extra $100. That's insane. Or an extra 75.
Yeah, it's $75 a month, you know, or $100 a month for $153 of today's worth of energy, right? So
That's
what I'm saying is, this is probably the most
crazy.
like, so it's really just the financing. When you look, so if anybody tells you solar's not there yet, the financing is not as good as it could be yet. That's true. Hopefully more people will start competing to offer better solar loans. But if you take all the interest out of it, it's literally less than half to produce your own energy. So, but you know,
and
you're like,
is that a fixed rate?
well, this is like assuming that you paid cash. What this means, if you paid cash for your system,
Well, I'm at the interest rate that you're using, like the basic, and I know it's subject to change until we actually like have that discussion with whoever the lender is. But is that, do you normally see it?
You mean this one that I keep using right here?
Yeah.
This is a 21-year loan, and it's locked in for 7 years because they found out that the overwhelming majority of people pay off their solar within 7 years, because they're used to making a monthly electricity payment. But after a couple of years of doing it, they're like, why the hell are we making a payment when we could just own these things? So that's why there's no early repayment penalty on this loan. There's no like origination fees or basis points or any of that. And then after 7 years, it readjusts to the prime rate, whatever that is, but it's capped. And before you sign your loan documents, you'll see the maximum it could be like 7 years from now. But this is just a great way to get it done. So yeah, it's essentially locked, but it might be
it's locked for 7 years, and then because that the terms on that would also be something that I'm interested in reading through.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna send this to you as soon as we hop off.
Yeah.
You see
If
this?
you are you able to send me this workbook too?
Yeah, man, like this thing right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can click through all this stuff. Like you take a day to really look into it, like and just discuss like what do we really want? And so, and that's 100% up to you, but I'm your guide to get you through it. So this is
Like a
your
spirit guide. What do they call those? Not a shaman.
shaman, call me electramon. Um, so yeah. So here's, you guys have good credit. These rates, you see I'm using 4.49 instead of 4.74
Yeah.
because I'm assuming you'd want to put your bill on auto pay, right?
Yeah.
And if you do, you get another 0.25% off of any of these rates.
Gotcha.
So you can put your amount in here and you can see the exact terms of what they are. And then next time I talk to you, I'll show you how to apply. And then before you ever sign anything, you see the exact complete term sheet.
Gotcha.
And so that's that. And then if you wanted to go with the battery, I'd suggest getting more panels, putting half of them on the east side, half of them on the west side,
You don't
and then
want-
having room to grow on both sides for later.
That makes sense. If you don't think so. I mean, for the one time a year we lose power. If you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. I don't.
I'd rather take a day off work because it can't work.
Doesn't have power.
What did it? What'd you? And you're so funny. You're like comic relief. What'd you say?
He said, you don't want it for like a battery for the one day we lose power. I said, no, I'll take a day off of work. For a day off of work 'cause you have no power.
Yeah. So think. So yeah, I mean, you guys, batteries are awesome, but the only reason you need them where you live has nothing to do with the utility company
Yeah.
and everything to do with your thing. But toggle this number to Houston, like here's a 35 and you're
Yeah,
looking
because if they're gonna pay us, here's in my head what I'm thinking, right? If they're gonna pay us retail after a year for the extra power, and once you verify that, it'll kind of verify like our decision.
Yeah.
But like then every panel we put on extra is just basically like a mini power plant that we have working on our roof. That like every basically if each panel provides more to Green Mountain Energy or whatever it is, than what we pay on it a month, then it's literally just making itself money.
right. It's like having a money tree.
It is. And then you shake it once a year so like honestly, it might come to the point where like, okay, maybe we only use X amount of power, but we put 40 panels up because if they're paying us retail, then we just slap them on the roof. And at the end of the year, they cut us a nice little check that we use for like a vacation or something.
Yeah. And I wouldn't get my hopes up about that, but I'm going to let you know within the next 2 or 3 hours if that's true. Because
my hopes are already up. Well, I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's pretty rad. Yeah, you would want to just make as much as you could, right?
Yeah, because if they're paying us retail for it,
But could their terms change?
I mean, their terms probably could change, but if they're paying retail, there's probably a reason they decided on the idea of like, we'll pay retail.
It sounds like they just want to win solar energy. They want to be Texas's place where if you have solar,
Which to be honest, like if you think about it, if you get a bunch of people, I wonder if their thought process is this, like, okay, like let's get a bunch of people that use us for solar and then we don't actually need to provide the power. We just kind of broker the power from places that have solar to places that don't have solar. Kind of like, I know I worked in the drone company and like a lot of people would put solar on their carports and like, and then charge people to park under them while they're making money for the structure itself, for the sun hitting it.
And imagine how much more valuable that's going to be when it also becomes the gas station, right? So
Yeah.
you plug your, like, you selling people.
They're making money on both sides of the structure. They're like, hey, your car's not in the elements too bad or in the heat, direct sunlight.
Yeah,
because we're capturing all that and making money off that too.
if you guys do move later on, and you decide to keep this house as a rental house as opposed to selling it, then you're not only renting somebody their place to live, now you're renting them their electricity too, because they're making your solar payment for you.
Yeah. Here's my other question. Let's say we pay 10 years on this and then we decide to move. Like, is it like transferable or like?
No, it's not. But the debt is. So if one of the things that we do is we'll help your real estate agent understand the value so he can capture it or she can capture it for you.
Gotcha. And then we would just use that money to basically pay off this.
That's right.
solar.
The same way if you put it, like, it's just like if you put a pool in and you hadn't paid your pool off yet, you just charge you charge whatever you want for your house. You just make sure that you recapture enough to do it, which is why so many people like to do like a home equity loan. You guys probably don't have any equity in your home because you just moved in.
We actually do have equity in our home. We have like, they sold our exact house across the street for about 60,000 more than we paid for ours.
Well, congratulations. I mean, if you wanted to, you could also take some time and you could wrap your solar into your like a home equity refinance situation, depending on where interest rates are. It might not make sense for y'all because you got
I
such.
was gonna say, I don't think it'll ever make sense for us to refinance this house.
Yeah, I can't.
I think we
Well, I
somehow,
work at a closing company, so you never know.
yeah, but we somehow managed to capture this at a bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, or a HELOC. That's all up to you, right? Like you can do it however the heck you want to. I'll find out about the overproduction, but one thing that you might want to consider is a hybrid. So if you don't know if you want batteries, but you want to be prepared just in case you do, you could get the standard option without the batteries. So it would be like battery ready that we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, so let's look at, see, this is 30 panels. This is 35 with the battery, but you can toggle this when you want to,
Yeah.
The only use for the battery is just if our power goes out.
And then at night, we wouldn't be using the grid. We wouldn't be using our credits. We would be using the battery.
Right.
But really, like, what do we use at night?
Electricity.
Yeah, but what do you, like, for what?
Like for the lights, for anything.
We don't have lights on at night.
No, but I'm saying like, okay, like in the wintertime when it gets dark at 5 o'clock,
Can you
instead of
not
using
do
the
that
power
on
grid, we would use our battery first. And then that's basically our electricity that we still own, that we haven't sold back. But if they're paying us retail for the energy that we sell back, then the battery really is just an added cost to us and not really paying a benefit unless the power goes out.
Here's a coin operated way to look at a battery that is not currently available in your area, but could become in the future. Have you ever heard of smart grids before? People talking about creating a smart grid?
Yeah.
What they're talking about is electricity has to be made and consumed at essentially exactly the same time. Like demand has to always meet supply.
Yeah.
And which is what happened in Texas, right? There was too much demand because it got really cold and they couldn't make enough to feed the demand. So imagine a future world where all of a sudden there's this huge surge in demand, but there's 10 million Texans who have batteries in their homes. And so the grid just says, hey, 10 million batteries, help me. And then they pay you a premium, like instead of paying wholesale, they'll like double it because they need it so badly. But instead of trying to crank up a peaker plant, they just suck it from your batteries. It's like an arbitrage situation. You're making it for free, and then you're not only selling it at retail, you're selling it above retail.
Selling it at a premium.
Right.
But that's probably going to be a one-off situation, but that's wild because then it opens the door for a lot of other questions, which is like in the future, are they just going to be like, you know what? We just need to interconnect all these houses and let the ones with solar get paid and the ones without them pay them.
That's essentially what's happening already. They just are your intermediary because a lot of Green Mountain, like there's people in apartments signing up for Green Mountain because they want to use solar energy, even if they don't have solar panels on their house. They're already paying a premium to be able to use it. There's
so there's the other option is what'd you call it? The
battery ready option. So if we take this to 30 panels, although you'd want to have 35, whatever, 30 if you're looking for, I have one roof face, I want to make my own electricity, I want to wait it out for a year, I want to see how it works, don't care about batteries at all, then you would go and I don't care about future batteries, or if I do care about future batteries, I don't care about paying a lot more for them and having them not work as well as the best possible option, and being less efficient, right? Like you will not get the best battery option if you go with this. But it doesn't matter where you are right now, and it doesn't have to matter in the future. I'm not trying to, like I said, we make the same thing if you get a battery or not. I don't care. Like, I just want you to understand what your best option is here. And so comparing apples to apples, the difference between a micro inverted system that you can't upgrade to a battery and a battery ready system is only the difference between $26,000 and $29,000. It's like
Yeah.
3,000. It would be $3,000 more to get ready for batteries using the same number of solar panels.
Okay, I'll say this, and this is like my opinion. I think it's either one or the other. I wouldn't want to do the if we need it like option. I feel like because then in the back end, you're not getting as nice batteries, like as good of them, and then it's still going to cost you.
But if we set it up, to get ready for the batteries,
Well, if
then
we're gonna already get ready for it, might as well just freaking do it.
well, that's an extra like 10,000.
You married a great wife.
It will be eventually anyways.
Yeah, but
Is what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is like, okay, like, let's say, I get what you're saying, right? It's like, we either do one way or we go all the way with the other way.
If we're gonna get ready for it, might
But
as
my
well
thoughts
just
are
do
like,
it.
we
If
could
we're
get
not, then let's not.
we could get the system set up and then like in 5 years, we're like, you know what, we should run a battery, or I'm glad we didn't spend the extra money on the battery. It's kind of like, let's get our feet wet and get in it and then make the decision once we're there, like, would a battery help us? Would a battery not be as valuable as we thought it might be? But like, or even if like for whatever reason we decide to sell this house, which honestly I think I'll own this house until I die, but that's subject to change. I've heard that a million times. To be able to tell the people like, yeah, like it's ready for a battery, like you could have a battery if you wanted, or like maybe later in life we're like, let's just go completely off the grid and just stack up a massive battery in there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, what Edge is saying, if we're going to do battery ready, let's do batteries. And if we're not going to, did I hear you right, Edge?
Yeah, like that. I can't get myself to be like, yeah, let's pay a little more to be battery ready. So then in the future, we're just gonna get the price back up anyways. Like, why not just, if that's the way you're leaning, like just be on board.
It's like getting dressed up to go on a date that might happen. It's like, just go on the
It's kind of like a waste of time is the way I see it. Like if that's the way that we think is going to be the most beneficial, and like take the chance, it's a chance.
Yeah.
Just take it then.
This is your Netflix and chill option. 30 panels, no batteries, standard stuff that's still beautiful, right? This is what a normal person looking to save money would want. And what Edge is saying is, I'm not going to do a battery ready option. So your battery option, you'd want to go ahead and fill up your inverter, and you'd want to use 35 panels, and that's 40 grand. If you did 35 panels, which if they pay retail and there's no limit, you'll want to fill out, you want to use as many as you can. You know, you can play with these numbers. You understand where they all come from.
Yeah.
You can see why it's not apples to oranges. Just use this before. This is to fix your battery page. Y'all look at the numbers today, pray on it, call your parents, talk to some friends, post it on Facebook, or however you make decisions. And then let's figure out when we can get back together tomorrow. I'll have the information for sure about what the rate is that you get returned. I'll dig and find that, and I'll call my team to see if I even need to.
Okay.
Because you kept going on. I
Okay.
didn't say that.
Ask your questions.
Okay, so if we went with the battery, like I just saying, and how you said like it would be $200 a month, so we're paying an extra. Is there any way that it would go over that? Like, is there going to be a month or two that it could be like $400 if we use X amount, or is that basically the steady amount then?
That's the steady math. Like
So it'll
Because-
never, we can use as much electronic as we ever wanted, and it would just be 200.
No,
Yes.
you can, no, that's not true, because I don't. The price for your solar will never change. The amount of electricity that it makes, we know, because we can project that using what we did at the beginning. But if you started having like a band party every night, and you had 5 giant whirlpools to your house, and you both got electric cars, then you just would use up all of the energy that your solar made, plus a lot more that you would just buy from the utility company when you needed it.
So say we add on a lot of stuff. So we get a hot tub, we get like a bunch of electronic stuff. Are we more prone to having a less bill if we do the battery, or?
Oh, that it won't affect your bill at all.
Okay. So
Nope.
that's something to consider, because we would, it would still up it.
I mean, in reality, the way that I see this is the only two things I think that this house could see very realistically in the future is like, if we have extra power, it would be smart then to buy an electric car, because then it's literally free gas. It is free as can be. Like, we no longer pay gas, which, as we've just seen in the past, week is, dude, we were driving in Texas and we saw gas all the way up to 289. And we read an article that in Virginia, by where we lived, gas hit $7.
Wow.
That
was from a pipeline shutting down for like 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Like,
which
Had a
in my
buddy.
head is like, but the fact is, like, so the two things that I could see this house really having added to it is 1, an electric car, and 2, a hot tub. Like, that's realistically where, like, 2 things I could see us adding.
and to know that if you went with a 35, or it'd be 35 with battery, you could even do 36 panels if it's micro inverted, and they're going to pay you extra for the energy. But you have room for 30 panels just on the westward facing roof.
Gotcha.
And that's why I'm using 30. But you can get as many as you want, because east and west are equally efficient. And then you can just leave the front of your house bare for now, because it's not
Yep.
that much space, even though it's the best space for sunshine. Right where Angie's office is. She gets a lot of sunlight.
Angela loves her sunshine.
I do.
Y'all are sunshine. So y'all are saying a lot of really good things that make a whole lot of sense. I didn't mean to confuse you further, but I just believe that it's important to know what your true options are, so that you can decide for you. You don't want to, like, where you live, batteries are completely, at this moment in time, for you to save money, not needed. But if you go the route of not battery and micro inverters, you're going to paint yourself into a corner for future batteries. There are plenty of batteries. The Tesla Powerwall is one of those batteries that would work with that system. So it's not like the batteries don't exist. It's just that they're not as good, and they cost a lot more. Like, but the marginal difference, you would never notice it, right? You could plug it in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just end up wanting batteries, which is the only reason why paying a little bit more might make sense. So if it is battery ready, you still get the same impact. But that's
So
something
if we were to add them in the back end, how much money do you think that would be? You said, what was that? Like,
So if we go without the batteries with
8,000,
30
and then it
panels.
was like 18,000, right? Or something like that. You said if we would get it for 8,000.
yeah, that's because you get it from us. So like that doesn't have it.
8,000 on the 20.
Plus we have to set up the system different, so it really adds 11,000. So the difference is we can do it for 26 without the batteries, right? Without setting it up for the batteries and without the batteries, which is basically
And
the
then add it.
cost-effective solution.
Yep.
Plus,
Then
add it, or to add it.
Yeah, plus if we set it up, so we could add it, it would only be 3,000 more, but if we set it up
So it's
to add it with the battery, then
29, and then how much would it be if we did add it?
40,000.
No, I'm saying like in the back end. So it starts at 26. If you add the hookup, then it's 29. And then if 3 years later we decide to add it, how much is that new total?
Thank you. 88. If at today's prices, it's like 88.70, or for 4 awesome batteries. It's 20 kilowatts, which is enough to do cool stuff with. And so in a really cool battery box. So under
Exactly.
$9,000.
The battery,
8 or 9, so what's that, 37?
no, it comes with 40.
Or
Yeah, I'll send the spreadsheet to
it
you.
would be the same, is
What do
what
you
you're
mean it would be
saying.
the same? You're not, okay, here, hold on, wait, so 26 without ever having the option to add a battery,
Correct.
29,
Or
With
no,
the
you
option to
can't add a battery, but you can add a battery along.
40,000 with the option to add a battery with the battery.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what if we, like, what is it with the hookup for the battery? And then 3 years later, if we do that hookup to add the battery, what's that other expense then?
8,000.
And plus $2,000 for the installation. That's what's missing.
So then it'd be 10,000.
It's fine. Yes. So it's like what's missing for, you'll see it on the spreadsheet. So it's like at today's prices, it would be 8,800. Let's call that 9,000. Plus $2,000 additional labor is 11,000 plus $500 in extra engineering. So it's 11,500 total. What you would get with the battery ready option is that you would get everything except for the $10,000 for the batteries. And what I was showing you on the sheet, or $10,000 for the battery and the installation. And what I was showing you on the sheet is that the retail price of those batteries is $18,000 just for the batteries themselves. But because Houston and I know each other and y'all were willing to come support a good cause, you get a good person discount on whatever the heck you want. And the good person discount is you pay wholesale for all your solar stuff, and then we get paid to do it for more people and do it as well as we can, as fast as we can. I think we might be able to get this in by your birthday. The only holdup is these particular panels I'm thinking about using that are black and really sexy, not the premium ones. They're cool, but like the sexy black ones, our distributor doesn't get those in until like the middle of June. And so that would be the only hang up, for going this direction. But when you get your sheet, click all the different options. You might find like, I fell in love with this one type of solar panel. And if you do, get it tomorrow. It's pretty simple. But if you don't, no big deal.
Yeah, my biggest concern was that, like, how I was trying to explain it is if we don't go and do it fully right now, is it going to end up being more money to do it in the future? So that was my biggest concern.
The answer is, if you are battery ready, no, it will just be what it would have been before.
Okay.
For the components and the labor. If you don't do battery ready, then yes, it will cost you more because you'll be working with a whole different type of battery system. You can go with the first option and still get batteries later on, but the batteries will cost more.
Okay.
And they won't work as well. And when I say don't work as well, I mean that they won't put out quite as much juice. I mean that they're made with components that don't really make as much sense to make batteries with when you're thinking about it. The batteries we use are called lithium iron phosphate batteries, humless. If you want to look them up, the spec sheet's on there. I'll send it to you. And you don't want to put them in a car, Ange, because they're heavy. And you don't want to put them in your phone because they're heavy. But your house doesn't care how heavy something is. Like, it's just going to sit there, and it stores energy better. It works in better climate conditions. Like, it has to be inside, but it's still, they last longer. There's no rare earth metals. There's no cobalt or anything like that. So it's a lot more sustainable, and they're a hell of a lot less expensive, but they work better. So yes, if you decide to go with just the normal option and then you change your mind about batteries in 3 years, you can still get them. They'll definitely cost you more. If you do the battery ready option, that's what allows you to just plug in that really good battery option I just described whenever you want to, if you want to. And if you don't want to, you still have it's a couple of grand more for a really awesome Texas inverter that you can't really go wrong with. But those are all things y'all could talk about today. You don't have to get that many batteries either. You could also, you'll see a price sheet, you could just get 2 batteries, so just in case, you can keep your freezer on and you keep a few electrical sockets on, whenever the things come. But
Gotcha. That's interesting.
Yeah, but like the energy arbitrage smart grid situation we're talking about with batteries, it's already happening in places like California, where they have a time of use schedule where electricity costs this much in the morning, this much at night, this much in the afternoon. And the way it works is like, it could be a huge difference. So if you're making solar power in the morning for free, or for 11 cents a watt in the morning, and then you could sell it for 24 in the afternoon, it's just printing money for you, because you're saying, instead of keeping the battery juice if you need it, you're selling it back when the price is the highest. And so Green Mountain does not do that. There's not a time of use schedule, like it's just a flat rate. But in some places it already exists, and who the heck knows what Texas is going to do. But I doubt those types of things will be popular in Texas, just because it's a money grab by the utility companies. In most cases, it just happens to work out for the few people who have batteries,
Gotcha.
So, oh man, it's fun. What time you want to get together tomorrow afternoon, since it's a Sunday afternoon?
Let's do Sunday evening.
Perfect. What
Would that
time do you
work for
think?
you?
Yeah, man, that's perfect. What time's good for you?
I don't know what you wanna do, 8 Central? Would that work?
Sure. I don't care.
Yeah.
First round.
Would 8 Central work for you?
Yes, it will.
I just have one more question before we go.
You can ask as many as you want for as long as you want.
Okay, so are these things like, so our town is specifically known for the tornado that destroyed it. If a tornado rolls through here, are these things insured or like
That's a good
gone?
question. Is it covered by our home owner policy thing?
Part of the process, and I'll actually go ahead and send this to you today, if you want to play the urgency game. There's some pictures we need you to take, like of your electric box and things like that. So I'll send that to you whenever I send you the spreadsheet, so y'all can go ahead and get that done.
Gotcha.
And one of the pictures that you take is a copy of your homeowner's insurance to make sure that it's covered.
Okay.
And so, yes, you are covered. You are.
Yeah.
In terms of normal coverage, you have different types of warranties that come with your solar. You have like an equipment warranty for the panels that's usually 10, 15 years. But all that means is that if there's a manufacturer's defect, that it will be replaced, and it doesn't take 10 to 15 years to figure that out. It's with, like, at most it's within the first 2. But what you really care about and what really matters with solar is the production warranty. And with what we've been talking about today, the non-premium panels, you're looking at making 80% guaranteed at the end of 25 years of the electricity that they're making the very first day they come out of the box.
That means I'll be 50. I'll be over 50 years old.
You'll be
and these,
over 50.
I was gonna say, and
I'll be
these
50.
panels will still be making 80%. Wow, I'll be
Well,
borderline.
in
Like,
20 years, I'll only be 45.
I know, I'll be halfway to dead.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, huh?
Yeah, that's weird that solar panels could actually outlive me. How long does a solar panel normally last? Like, do we know that yet?
We don't. Because check this out. The first solar panels still work. You Google first, consider this: the world's oldest solar panel, a 60-year-old crystal ball like contraption, still works.
That's crazy.
Like, and we made the Bell Labs made the first regular ones like 1954. They don't have any moving parts. It's not like you're, spinning a turbine.
Yeah, so they just have to collect sunlight.
It just sits there. Like, it's the closest thing humans have invented to a money tree, and people don't want to use them. They like, it's just out of a habit. It's like this old habit. Oh, where do I get my electricity? It's like, where do I get my entertainment? The cable companies.
Okay, I'm just asking.
No,
Our winds are like insane over here. So
That's a good question. And the reason that y'all are going to take those pictures is because part of the pictures are the rafters. And we see what size they are and how far apart they are. And then we work with Jarrell to ask them, is it Jarrell or Gerald? How do you say
It's
Gerald,
Gerald.
Texas?
It's
Gerald.
just Gerald. Like, it's
Gerald. I'm from Gerald. That's super.
yeah, we always have
And-
like 15 to 20 mile an hour winds here. In the
Yeah,
winter.
that's the most of them are rated for like 170 mile per hour gust. They have solar panels in Miami.
That makes me feel.
I don't think
But-
we've gotten those yet.
Yeah, not yet, not yet, okay. Just preparing, you never know.
But one thing that is true is that you do need fewer roof attachments than someone in Miami would, because you have to get a permit. Like what could end up being the longest part about this, we don't know yet. We tried to find out yesterday so I could just tell you, but the lady's on vacation who does permits. And so
I told you, our economic building here is like the size of our house, and I'm pretty sure only like 5 people work there. So if one person goes on vacation,
the whole thing shuts down.
yeah, we're just gonna
Sounds
shut
like
that
my
department down.
So maybe we'll just do it without a permit and ask for permission or ask for forgiveness later. You know? But I'm just kidding. We'll get the permit, but we'll figure out how to
I'm on board. I'm on board with the other way, because they'd probably show up and be like, "You got a permit? No. You should have one. Can I get one? Yeah. Come down to the."
That's probably how it'll work. And that's how it works in Australia, which is why solar is so cheap in Australia. Because if it were like that everywhere, you know, that $3,000 thing that we have in the budget,
Yeah.
that could easily be $1,000. It's just, you don't even know how much back and forth. There's a freaking town in Florida that I won't name right now, but they spent 3 months rejecting something for essentially no reason at all. Like had
That
nothing
sounds
to
like. Is it Naples?
no, it's not. But I one of my friends from Naples, why I'm smiling, I just met recently, and we work with Naples people. Like there are some that are even worse. Like it's crazy some of the different things that are going on. There's one town that won't let you have above a certain number of panels. And it's not the town, it's the electricity company. There are rules about how much you can't make over 100% of what you used. In some states, y'all wouldn't even be able to go solar until you had 6 months worth of utility bills. We're just making a pretty good projection and knowing that you're smart enough to use the electricity that's extra if you need it when we're creating these system sizes. Like
Yeah.
Texas is actually, but there are some pockets of Texas that have like these co-ops, and people don't have the option to switch. So they can't switch to Green Mountain. And then the co-op won't give them 100% for the electricity that they send back to them. In other words, they won't give them a full credit for when they need it. You know, Chariot right now won't give you a full credit. It would be super easy to just call Chariot and say, hey, I want to get on your solar plan. You could switch that fast. And that's a big process in some places. I spent 6 hours yesterday just entering a form for Pacific Gas and Electric for a lady who went solar with us in San Jose, California.
PG&E is like, I feel like it's their mission statement. It's like, we like to make power as difficult as humanly possible.
Our one in Virginia was god awful.
Because when we would do inspections for PG&E, like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it's like drone inspections, miserable times.
Did y'all live? Where did you live that had PG&E?
Well, we didn't. I worked for a company that they contracted through. And so we had to work with them to do different kinds of inspections, like pole top inspections and things of that nature. But it was very interesting and difficult.
Right.
Lot of hoops.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of hoops. It's basically all I can say, and it's like that everywhere, but it's not like that in Gerald. In Gerald, I bet you could do whatever the heck you want to do because it's Texas.
You 100% can.
That's like, it's all of Texas. Like, you're free to do what you. Texas, there's a reason that Texas is Texas, and it's exactly what you think it is. But as long as you're not hurting anyone else, you're free to do whatever in the world you want.
So as long as, you know, the only reason I would get premium panels if I were you is just because all your neighbors are going to want them after y'all get them. And they don't look any different. Both of them are going to look really great, but it's just a way to say, yeah, we got the very best ones. Just because it's Texas, you know.
You're not wrong.
As much as I like to be that person, selling that price point will be a very, very interesting conversation.
You guys, I don't think it's worth it. Like, I like to look at how much does something cost and how much electricity does it produce and make my decisions that way. You know,
Yeah, the ROI. The ROI is really what will tell you what the Lamborghini is versus the.
Yeah.
Well, the way I see it, it's like $1,000 difference, honestly. If you pay upfront versus if you do it in the back end, because
We're talking panels, not batteries.
well, both of them, because when you add it, the one, you get the bigger tax return up front, and the other way you don't.
Wow, that's actually
It's
right.
1,000, it's $1,000 difference.
Yeah, like go play. I'm gonna send you this sheet. Y'all play with the numbers. If you break it, let me know and I'll send you
Worth it
another
to
one.
have 11 grand, where we can probably even make more with that 11 grand. I don't know.
That's a good,
I'm
now
very
that,
money oriented, so like I keep thinking this through.
that is definitely that's a real conversation, like,
Right.
okay, we're paying more,
Well,
but
that's what was running through my head the entire time.
Yeah,
1,000, right, can make more than the 40 extra dollars we're
Correct, it's
paying.
better to do it up front.
Yeah, cause then we have all that money that even if you just invested it and it gives you what, like a 10% return?
Yeah, I mean, she's right. Like you're talking about reclaiming a huge amount of money from the government. And you're using somebody else's money to begin with to make the payment. And then you're paying your note with what used to be your electric bill plus whatever tiny premium it is to, do it yourself.
And then they just hand us $11,000 check.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then what we do with that 11,000 could really make us more money on that, so.
Yeah.
I mean, our monthly payments are gonna be a little bit more, but we would also have more electricity, we would save more,
We could sell more.
yeah.
Yeah. So let me find out how much you can sell it back for. Let's talk, what is it, 8 o'clock tomorrow night?
Yeah, honestly though, if you could get us that answer, like,
Yeah, I'm gonna get that to you before the day's over. The only reason I can't I would say within the next hour, but I don't know if they're open and I'm gonna have to dig through a bunch of stuff on a website to find it or not. But I'll find it one way or the other and I'll get it to you as soon as we can. I understand why that weighs on your decision and I acknowledge your intelligence for recognizing that it does.
I appreciate that.
Because
That I think
My major was finance, I am big about finance.
the cool thing is you can we could almost build a mini power plant on our roof if they're paying retail for our electricity.
Yeah, if they retail, the way to go might be
But like the crazy thing is
no batteries and max out your roof because
exactly. And like the thing is like, okay, we just say forget the batteries, we max out the roof, they give us a massive tax return, and then it's someone else's money. So like, and then honestly, the extra panels we put on could pay for themselves plus the extra over the electricity bill.
Yeah, if it pays retail, it will. Like you'll 100% be able to make electricity for less than you're selling it for. I just don't believe. I don't believe it's true. It's shocking to me if it is, but I'm really excited. I'm excited to find out today. And I'm not saying I don't trust my teammates. If my teammates are watching, y'all do great work. And I'm sure that it's right. You guys did the best you could, but I've got to get. Daddy's got to go jump on this one. I'm going to go figure this out. But we'll see you tonight. Or we'll see you at 8. I'll get you the information as soon as you can. I'll send you the sheet to play with. And it seemed like I just said I would send you something else over too. Do you remember what that was?
The link to take the pictures.
Yes, that's correct. Well, I'm going to send those both to your email now. Do you have anything else you want to say to the people that were bored on a lazy Saturday hanging out with us? With probably half a person that watched, if anybody. Or
No.
I think all my questions are answered for now. I just gotta plug in all the numbers.
Yeah, we'll play with that calculator.
Guys, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being the kind of people. Look, if people would just have a little sense of urgency, and I know that an hour plus 2-hour conversation doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency. Y'all just happen to live in a place where you have more and better options than most. You're at an age in your life where you can absolutely receive the full benefit 100% of me. And you're at an age where y'all might actually have to bear the brunt of what comes, assuming climate change is real. I don't know.
Well, not only that, but like if I'm able to power a car and not have to rely on gas, like listen, I'll be 100% honest with you. I am not an electric car person, but I'm also not a $3 a gallon person. So
right. And that's just the beginning. It's going to be more than that. How do you think they're going to pay for climate change? Taxes on the things that create CO2. Gas is going to go up. Electricity is going to go up, and it's going to go up a lot, most likely. But I'm not a prophet, so I can't tell you what's definitely going to happen. But if you've
never seen it go down,
yeah, and if you just look at macro trends, but not only is it never going to go down, they're never going to stop charging you if they can get away with it. Yeah, but let's work together as humans and make the electricity we need. Use the electricity companies to help us share it. Like, you do your job helping us share it. We'll find some way to pay you, but like, we don't need you to make it and ship it and store it for us. Like, we got that. Like, we got that. So thanks, fellow
Awesome.
humans. Anything else on your mind today?
No, sir, but I appreciate the time.
And remember, even if it turns out that the retail rate is true and you do decide that you want batteries for whatever reason, then know that 35 panels is the max for one of those inverters. Later on, there's more room on your roof space. You could add basically the same thing again if you wanted to.
Gotcha. Okay, wait, so that's a good point. So like, if we ended up with like 40 or 45 panels, right? Then we would have to get a second inverter.
Right. Then you either use the micro inverters and accept that you're going to have a less battery situation in the future, or you do something really awesome. You just go ahead and get a second solar.
Solar?
It's like just about $6,000. And one of them would be full and the other one would be half full. But if it's just the one thing you can't do is you can't mix the systems. You can't mix one with the other. Like John's trying to do that in his house now.
Okay, then we've got a lot. Yeah, I was gonna say we've got a lot to think about.
Yeah, you do. Luckily, you're very smart and you understand spreadsheets. And if you break it, I'll fix it. But it's supposed to be completely.
I'll fix it. I'm gonna end up going back to the well like 4 times today. I broke the spreadsheet. I need another one.
Yeah, and if you have those, here's how cool this is, man. If you have those pictures taken today, we'll have your engineering ready by the end of the week. And that means that we're then ready to hire an installer and ship the equipment pending the permit situation. So we're gonna have this done as soon as we can for y'all, and appreciate you playing. Decide what you want. We'll talk tomorrow. It'll be a good time. Appreciate you. See you soon.
You can go to lunch and tacos.
Yes.
Enjoy the tacos. Bye.
Sounds good. Thank you.